But before we dive into the message, I want to give you just an update on kind of where we've been over the last 2 years and possibly where we're going, okay? So for those of you that are new to Hope City, maybe this is your first Sunday. We're in a family series, and we're going to have a family meeting here for just a few minutes. That's one of the things we say in our family all the time. Hey, can everybody come in the living room? We're going to have a family meeting, all right? And so that's going to be the next few minutes. If you've come to Hope City within the last 2 years, we signed a 2-year lease on this building. November 1st was our first, 2017 was our first Sunday. Actually, November 4th was our first Sunday in here. And we say all the time we call it NASCAR Sunday because we didn't have any chairs, so everybody brought lawn chairs. And so it was a really cool Sunday. But our 2-year lease is up October 31st. And so we've known this for the last few months, and so our operations team has been meeting. We've been talking about different options. We knew that we had a meeting last Wednesday with our building owner. And so we've created a facility team of 3 individuals. One of those people are on our operations team. They've been looking at different properties, different options. We've been talking with our owner about renegotiating our lease and extending our lease. And we have secured a commercial real estate broker named ALO Group. And they have been working on our behalf over the last week or so as well, just to try to bring us different options. And they're going to represent us moving forward. So our goal going into the meeting with we know this is not the long-term home for Hope City, okay? We were able to grow to a substantial size here, but we knew long-term they're going to bulldoze this and it's going to be a hotel someday, and so we knew that we're not going to be here forever. And so our goal going into our meeting with the owner and our property manager was to extend our lease 12 to 18 months. We thought that would give us a good runway, but here was the caveat I had in the back of my mind. Many of you guys know we pay $14,600 per month in rent here. 50 cents of every dollar that's pretty much given goes to our rent. And so it's been a huge gift for us to have this facility and not sit up and tear down like we did for the first year of the church. But it's also been a pretty large burden to carry. And so if we were going to extend the lease 12 to 18 months, there was no way I could stand up on this stage and ask you guys to give more so that we could give more in rent. It just did not feel like good stewardship. It just did not feel like it was a direction that God was going to lead us. And we value people, and we don't have as many resources for ministry because we're spending it on facilities. And it's a double-edged sword because there's not really a lot of places that just are waving their flags going, hey, bring 400 people to this facility, right? Like that's just hard to move a church of our size into any location. And so we go into the meeting, and they did offer us a 3-year lease extension, but they want to increase our rent substantially over the next 3 years. And I got to be honest with you guys, I left the meeting, and I was just like, no. I didn't say that in the meeting. I'm like, hey, I'm not prepared to say no or yes to anything in this meeting. That's what I told them up front. But I got home and I just thought, we got to draw a line in the sand somewhere. Like it's not going to happen. Like we're not going to pay one dime more than we're paying right now. It's just not going to do. We're not going to do it. And it's easy to say that. And then at the same time, I'm like, oh my gosh, right? Like I'm kind of freaking out. And so back in June, a friend of mine texted me and said, hey, have you checked out this facility? There may be an opportunity for you and Hope City to partner with this facility moving forward with Hope City. And so I got on the website of this place, and I sent an email to the email address that was on the website on June 10th. And I did not hear anything back until 5:45 p.m. the night of the meeting I had with the property manager. And a person called me on the phone I didn't recognize, so I did what most of you guys do, send it to voicemail. And decline, right? Like, okay. And I get a voicemail for this person saying, hey, you emailed us about 4 months ago about possibly partnering with us in our facility. We'd like to talk to you about that. So that was on Wednesday. The very next night, Trish and I went and walked through that facility. And then this last Monday, our entire operations team went and walked through that facility. And due to a lot of different circumstances and a lot of moving parts, that's all I can tell you right now about that facility. But I will tell you this. We have submitted a proposal to rent the facility, and there are some really important meetings that are going to take place this week that will help determine whether or not this is going to be a fit for us. Now, before you're like worried that we're going to be meeting in the parking lot next week, all right? We have 90 days in our lease that we can we can, kind of kick in a 90-day kicker that allows us to go month to month. So I'm not nervous about where we're going to go over the next 90 days. But I do believe that this opportunity is a phenomenal opportunity for us. And we have submitted a proposal, and I'm hopeful that within the next 2 weeks, either next week or the first weekend of November, I'll be able to share with you a lot more details about that. So that brings up the question, what can you do? What can we all do together as we move forward in this process?
And the first thing is pray. I would say at the end of September, I just really felt like God was just kind of speaking into me to pray specifically for our Hope City family, and specifically where we gather. Not knowing really the outcome or what would happen in the October meeting that was coming up to renew our lease. And I just felt like God was calling me to fast and pray. And so I began that journey beginning October 1st and really carrying it through the 31st. And I really thought it was going to be like this gentle journey, but it's been, I feel like in the past couple of weeks, I've been in a battle and just praying specifically for the city of Indianapolis. And it's been really sweet and really tender and honestly somewhat exhausting all at the same time. But here's what God keeps reminding me of. As I began to pray, I felt like the phrase that kept coming to my mind over and over again is to pray this specific prayer. Lord, give us a building. Give us a building. Whether that be through a person or through a group of people, would you give us a building? And would you allow us to be a blessing to them as much as the building is a blessing to us? Because here's the deal. God does not need a building. I don't think this building is about God. I think the building is about God, about what God is doing in us. And see, when we begin to pray, when we begin to give of ourselves, what happens is the temperature in the climate of our church begins to change. You see, you can't outgive the giver, and Jesus is the ultimate giver. And I have spent the past 3 years alongside Justin experiencing life change after life change after life change. And when you experience life change, when you experience the gift of the giver of eternal life, when you experience the gift of the giver that he brings peace and joy in the midst of hard circumstances, the only other response is to give back. So I'm going to ask you, would you pray? And I want to ask you specifically, I've never asked this of our church before. On Tuesday is a very important meeting. And I'm going to ask that you would sacrificially pray. Maybe choose to fast. Maybe it's a morning meal. Maybe it's the whole day. Maybe it's fasting from your phone. That brings more pain sometimes. Maybe that will be a relief. I don't know. But on Tuesday, if you would choose to pray, because I believe this isn't a Justin and Trisha journey. I don't believe that it's just a building journey. I believe that it's a Hope City family journey.
And secondly, we waited till after the offering had gone by to say the second part is, would you consider giving? Many of you guys have stepped up in 2019, and you have started giving generously. Many of you have given for the first time, and it has made such a huge difference in our church. When we moved into this facility, our monthly revenue was about $18,000. Okay, if you're doing the math, you're like, whoa, how are we even here? I don't know, okay? No, I'm just joking. We had outside support the first 2 years of our church that allowed us to supplement. And many of you guys have stepped up in some tremendous ways and allowed us to be in this building. And our giving is up from last year, which is awesome. But the last quarter of 2019 is going to be crucial for us to become all that God has for us as a church. Now, I want to give you just some data over the last 4 weeks. Our giving has been up about 30% until we hit the month of September, year over year. And then here's our weekly financial need is $8,400. Our last 4 weeks of giving has been $8,000, which is woo, that's awesome. All right, that's not bad. All right, then boo. All right, and then oh yay. All right, and then boo. All right. So our last Sunday's offering was the lowest offering in the last 2 years. Okay, now. I think that's an anomaly because we'd already had over $7,000 given online going into today for this week. And so I don't look at this number and go, oh my gosh, the sky is falling. I want to give you the last 4 weeks, okay? And some of you are thinking, okay, if this is the last 4 weeks and our weekly need is $8,400, which is like $33,000 a month, how have we survived? Last weekend, Trish and I were not here. We were doing a marriage conference in Illinois. And it was a $5,000 honorarium that we donated directly to Hope City. We've already sold over $4,000 of marriage conference tickets of the marriage conference that's going to take place here in November. All of that money has already been donated to Hope City. And so we don't mind doing that. We've done that with a generous heart, but that is not going to be a strategy for us moving forward. What we need people that call Hope City home that might be sitting on the sidelines saying, no, I love this place. I love the life change that's taking place in this place, and I want to be a part of the miracle that God has in mind. And if that is you, if you are giving, thank you. And if you're not giving yet, it's always going to be free to go here. We're never going to pressure you to give. I want to invite you to be a part of something bigger than yourself. As you and I tithe, as we give back to God in generous ways, you know what we do? We set a foundation for the future of our church. As we give generously, we allow God to create the preferred future of our church. And so unapologetically, I feel like we're in for a miracle over the next 2 or 3 months, and I want you to be a part of it. And as we end the year, the last quarter of the year, in December of last year, I think we brought in $111,000 in the month of December. Okay, so that's a pretty big month. We're not to December yet. Okay, it's October, and so as you go into the last quarter of the year, I really want you to wrestle with God on how can I be a part of this? God, how do you want me to be a part of what you're doing at Hope City? And we're going to kind of go over some dreams that we have. We're going to partner with Urban Act Academy again over Christmas and Thanksgiving. We're going to give generously to our community. As we're generous here, it enables us to be even more generous to our community. And so here's what I want you to know as we dive into this. Trish and I are all in on Hope City's future. We're all in. Members of our operations team, they've given over and above their regular giving to help supplement our offering over the last couple months. They're all in. And I want to invite you to be all in. And that's not just with your money. That's with your time. That's with invitations to people to be a part of what God is doing here. And it's through prayer. Praying that God is going to show up and give us the miracle that I know He has in mind for us. And then I want to invite you to do this. Buckle up. All right? Because those of you that have been around for over 2 years, we moved here with 14 days notice. Okay? We're not going to do that again. All right? I'm not going to text you going, hey, we're at this address this week. We'll see you there. All right? We're going to be a little more short. But we have seen God show up over and over and over again. And some of you are like, oh man, I really wish I was around when we met in Justin's living room. Oh man, I really wish I was around when we met at Mercy Road. Oh man, I really wish we were around when we met at the Ritz Charles. Oh man, I really wish we were around when they had their first Sunday here. You'll be able to say, I was there when God showed up and provided in such a God-ordained, God-led way that it blew all of our minds. And that is what we're in for as we end 2019. All right? Otherwise, we'll meet in a tent out in the parking lot in a couple weeks, all right? Let's pray and then we'll dive into the message.